Good morning. My name is Reverend Ed Tansey, and I, along with Rev G. Stewart, welcome you, our Facebook family, to our Sunday talk this morning. We are the founding ministers of Centers for Spiritual Living Greater Boston, and we are located in beautiful Cambridge, Massachusetts, on 50 Dudley Street. And we invite you to come and visit us sometime if you are ever in the area. And here at the center, we learn and we practice that wonderful philosophy of science of mind, which is the study of life and the nature of the laws of thought. And it was our founder, Reverend Dr. Ernest Holmes, who synthesized the science of mind philosophy after him studying many of the different religions that we have, science and philosophy. And he used from them what he felt would assist humanity to live that joy-filled life, that bliss-filled life, that harmonious and magnificent life. Would you like that? Learn the philosophy. Practice the philosophy. You have that choice. I invite you to visit our website, cslboston.org, where you can find out more about our phenomenal family here, this great philosophy called the science of mind, and see how our community can be of service to you. And I ask that if you're being spiritually fed this morning by our talk, to please consider including us in your prosperity circulation or tithing practice with your tax-deductible contributions that you can make right online. Rev G, our spiritual family here, and myself, thank you in advance of your continued support of our vision, our community's vision, fostering a world that works for all of creation. So before I begin my talk, I have to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm very saddened this last week. I am very saddened seeing all that is going on in the world today. And I'm going to ask that we all take a moment of silence for the following. Since last Sunday, a week ago, this, as many of you know, is what's been going on. First, at the Gilroy Garlic Festival in California, 3 people were killed. Yesterday, at a Walmart store in El Paso, Texas, 20 people were killed. This morning in Dayton, Ohio, they didn't say exactly where, but somewhere in Dayton, Ohio, 9 people were killed. And I'm supposed to come up here and talk about what our talk is today, and I said, I have to share what my feelings are. I am so saddened to see so many people whose lives, because of heinous actions, are so changed, and so many people are in pain. So I said to Rev G driving up here this morning, I says, I think I'm going to throw my whole talk away. But then, before I made that decision, I sat down here this morning and just wrote some notes of my feelings. And then I opened and looked at my talk and said, which I completed on Tuesday of this week, it went so along with, I feel. So I'm going to add to the talk. So it's going to be a little longer, but I think the message will be very important to hear. So bear with me, but let's go into a silence right now for all of the victims, for the perpetrator, for the families involved, for everyone involved in the last week. So let's take a moment, keep them in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you. So the 2019 Center for Spiritual Living theme is spirituality in action. And August's theme is gratitude. Respect other nations and peoples. Respect other nations and peoples. And our talk title today is Our Blessed Humanity. Our Blessed Humanity. So, as I said, the CSL's theme is spirituality in action. And that is using the prophetic justice principles that were created by Reverend Dr. James Forbes Jr. of the Riverside Church in New York. He suggests that people of faith should test their leaders' policies. When we as divine beings test our leaders' policies, the approach in doing so is important to the collective consciousness that is created by how we test them. Some approaches can have positive ramifications as well as negative ramifications. I say choose your approach carefully. By choosing carefully how we show up, by choosing carefully our approach when dealing with our leaders' policies, it doesn't mean by any means to lessen their responsibility to the outcome of their policies. Are you following me so far? Okay. And as Ernest Holmes said in his Sermon by the Sea, which he presented at Asilomar, show the slide please. It would be wonderful indeed if a group of persons should arrive on earth who were for something and against nothing. I have 3 slides, three quotes. Another quote. For me, one person who is for something and against nothing, who is redeemed enough not to condemn others out of the burden of his soul, and I would find another Savior, another Jesus, and an exalted human being. And the third quote. Find me one person who is for something. Find me someone who has given all that he has in love without morbidity, and I will have found the lover of my soul. Is not this true? Why? Because he will have revealed to me the nature of God and proved to me the possibility of all human souls. So those 3 quotes, I feel, really set a very positive tone regarding the way we can show up that can only really raise the collective vibration of humanity while still holding leaders accountable for their policies. So let's relate what I've just shared with you from those 3 quotes with the prophetic justice principle that we're working with this month, which is respecting other nations and principles. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to ask you to go within and quiet your minds, and I'm going to present 3 questions to you. Okay? So at home, please do the same. Please, at this point, close your eyes. Quiet your mind. Let's take some breaths in, gentle breaths in, breathing in all the love that God is, breathing in all of that universal energies of love, breathing it in, and exhaling all of the love as you go into that inner sanctuary of your being. Just breathe in and out, breathing in and out. So here are 3 questions as you're in this place of being that I invite you to ponder concerning our leaders' policies. Question 1. Does the policy encourage respect for peoples and nations other than our own? Question 2. Does the policy respect the fundamental dignity of every human being? Question 3. Does the policy use diplomacy as a valued instrument of statecraft in resolving international conflicts and refrain from unilateral military actions for domination strategies? I ask you to slowly bring your consciousness back to this room, or back to whatever room you might be in for the Facebook Live people. Open your eyes gently and slowly. Move your toes if you need to, your fingers, rotate your head, and welcome back. Welcome back. Now, in your pondering of these 3 questions, again, I just want to quickly show them up here. Does the policy encourage respect for peoples and nations other than our own? Does the policy respect the fundamental dignity of every human being? And does the policy use diplomacy as a valued instrument of statecraft in resolving international conflicts and refrain from unilateral military actions for empire building and domination strategies? And I'm going to ask you that if any of your realizations about our leaders' policies do not align with the spiritual truths that you live by, I suggest that each and every one of us do our spiritual work around what is ours to do and how we are going to approach these leaders and these different policies and these different laws that they're making. It doesn't only have to happen on the international level. I'm saying even here, right at home in the United States. I ask you to think about those Ernest Holmes quotes that I've mentioned and go from there. Go from there. It is a responsibility I believe each and every one has. Now here's what I came up with this morning that I have to share with you that was not in this talk. We need policy changes. We need changes in the people elected to office, changes in the laws that allow for oppression, that allow for divisions of people, them and us, that break down that concept of oneness. You know, all of the hate and the fear will not stop, I believe this, just by doing what I just mentioned. It goes way beyond that, people. What is needed now is to address the root causes of people's actions. The root causes. The perpetuators, they're screaming out. They are seeking to be heard, to be helped, to be listened to. And I feel that society as a whole really has not paid attention to them. Now, this doesn't mean that saying it's okay what they've done. But we need to try to get to the root cause of people who get so out of alignment with the truth of who and whose they are. so that these heinous actions are occurring because they're out of alignment. They are hurting. They need to be paid attention to. And how can we do that? Counseling, getting into ourselves and our spiritual practices, peace-building education, working with the consciousness, building programs that are there, that uplift and deal with kindness, compassion, empathy, oneness, connection, inclusivity. This is what we need to work on. This is what we need to look at. We need to take a look at ourselves individually also. Are we, or the language we use, the way we show up, negatively promoting stuff or positively promoting stuff? Is it love or hate that our actions and our words are promoting? Is it inclusion or exclusion? Is it compassion or insensitivity? It is time, people. It is time to consciously be a mirror of your positive thoughts, your thoughts of being in alignment, your thoughts of positivity, and the results of a healed and open heart and mind will be what is needed for this world. Because we know that when we do this personal inner work, this inner healing, and take responsibility for what we individually add to the collective consciousness in the world, this will lead to a change in regard to what is happening negatively in our society. I believe that strongly. So, the title of our talk is A Blessed Humanity. We do have a blessed humanity. We are in a blessed humanity. And here's how I know that. Here's how I can say this is what the talk is, and this is what will get us to there. There are people showing up, helping others. There are people showing up, taking care of the afflicted in any of the different situations that are occurring in the world. There are people donating their time, their money, their love, donating their actual blood to help people. There's a lot of kindness going on. There's a lot of caring and compassion. That's coming from a blessed humanity. That's coming from a blessed humanity. And when I think of people who are now becoming more vocal and showing up, saying enough is enough, but they're doing it with a consciousness coming from not of resistance or against. What are they for? What are they for? Here's what we're for. We're for love. We're for compassion. We're for inclusivity. I think of Marianne Williamson, who is showing up concerning these elections. Here is a woman being so rooted in her principles that she is bringing a different perspective to the elections that are coming up in 2020. I say kudos to her. Bless her for what she is doing. Some of those people on the stage, if you've seen any of the debates, they don't know what to do with her because it's such a different perspective. She is talking about ways of being that she knows is going to uplift humanity. And some of the politicians of today have no clue of what she's talking about. So I know that the day after the second debate, it was said that, Google search exploded with people wanting to find out more about this woman. What is she talking about? Because people know there's something has to switch, and it all begins with our consciousness. When I look at people like in our movement, there are three people who come to my mind. Reverend Cindy Grimes. She is involved in peace-building education along with her ministry, taking it to police departments, to schools, to different areas of life, peace-building, positiveness. When I look at Reverend Veronica Vales, she's bringing in programs into schools, elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools that foster this kind of consciousness that will make a difference in this world. When I think of Reverend David Alt, he is building schools in different countries, helping children, bringing water systems to different third world countries. These are people who are making a difference, whose consciousness is where positiveness is happening. Good is happening. That's what we need. That's what we need. So that's what I added this morning to my talk. So I know that anything we do coming from our hearts, coming from love, will be exactly what is needed for everyone's highest and best good, and that coming from a loving consciousness is the lifting agent, the thrust behind all change for good, behind all that is nurturing and positive for all of humanity. A vibrational energy lifter. And as Mother Teresa said, and you've heard me say this quote many different ways, but this is exactly what she said: if you hold an anti-war rally, I shall not attend. But if you hold a pro-peace rally, invite me. Namaste.
Ooh, Rev Ed.
I know.
We're doing some church up in here. No, we don't do church. But anyway. Thank you, Rev Ed. That was wonderful. And I know that, you are passionate about that. And I think we're all passionate because we're living in it. Are we not? We're living in a world that seems like things are out of alignment. And Ernest Holmes spoke to us from the Sermon by the Sea. Before something and against nothing. What does that mean? I'm giving my energy to what I want to see in the world. And I'm not giving my energy to the things I don't want to see in the world. So I'm building on that. So what Rev Ed did with us earlier was he gave us an opportunity to listen with our hearts when he asked those questions. And your heart spoke to you, I'm sure, in some way, saying something to you. So listen to that and let that guide you. Because listening with our hearts is always the place where we are offered opportunities to help others in the world through helping ourselves. It was wonderful yesterday in the retreat with Dr. Karen Drucker, in that she said, the important thing is that we fill our cups and we give from the overflow. We have to take care of ourselves first. Otherwise, you are giving from a depleted energy, and that energy is not helping others in the way that it could. So we have to take care of ourselves first. Does it mean we have to be totally selfish? It does not. There are times when you have to step out into service, even though you may feel like you're not ready. But that's why we have our spiritual practices, right? That's why we have taking a deep breath. I always call it re-spiriting the body, respiration. I take in the divine. I make it a part of me. So in the book that we're reading this month, which is called The Gentle Art of Blessing, which is by Pierre Predervand. He says this: to bless is to acknowledge the omnipresent universal beauty from material eyes. It is to activate the law of attraction, which from the furthest reaches of the universe will bring into your life exactly what you need to experience and enjoy. That's powerful. That the art of blessing is actually opening up your consciousness to greater possibilities, right? And if I'm opening those possibilities to myself, am I not also opening them to others just by my very presence in their life? By touching other individuals, just a smile, being with somebody? We did so much deep work yesterday with Karen Drucker, with her music, and it was so powerful. And we did things of looking into each other's eyes and just saying, I know who you are. In a sense, at a much higher level. Not where we are in day-to-day living. And we can do that without saying a word, can we not? in the world, we can do that. So, and by doing that, we're creating energy that will change and shift what we see going on in the world. That is the power of all of this. Because the universe is wanting to express as us. The divine knows itself more by us being in alignment with what we are to experience and what we are to enjoy in life. Does that make sense? If we are in that place, then we know that God is being fully expressed. And I use the word God, but it doesn't matter to me. You know, I love Mother, Father, God is one of my favorites because it's the highest and the best of the infinite feminine and the infinite masculine. It is both of those things at their highest level. Because we are all both, are we not? You know, we may have a gender, but as a whole, we are masculine and feminine in all of that. Because we are expressions of that divine energy, and it is all of that and more. So it's powerful. So this opens us to our oneness. And with the divine, not only with the divine, but with all people and all experiences in your life. And as I open to my oneness with the divine, I will be taken by the very nature of the divine into my oneness with our blessed humanity. Right? When I open to my oneness, and that's tough in the world sometimes, isn't it? So we do our personal work so that then we can go into the world and be a part of that world and bring oneness and bring love and bring kindness to the world. Because those are the things that are going to make a difference. So Ernest Holmes says in his papers, a collection of 3 inspirational classics of his, he says this. This is really powerful. You have to really think about this. We live unto each other. We live unto others. We live unto others because that which is myself is yourself. That which is yourself is myself. That which is our self collectively and ourselves individually is the one and only self there is. There is no other self. That's a powerful statement. And I have to realize that myself and yourself, or myself and the perpetrator's self, are the same self. It's a powerful realization. And so, what this calls me to say is that part of our world vision as an organization, I want to share some of our global vision as an organization from Centers for Spiritual Living. So the first one I want to share with you is we envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures for the further emerging global consciousness. There is an emerging global consciousness taking place. And sometimes, like birth, it's not pretty. So we have to realize that there's something going on that is greater than just the things we're seeing in the world. That there's a greater consciousness coming forward. And we have to be a part of that. And then the other one that I want to share with you is that we envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. The big piece here, when we're talking about what we've seen in the last in the last week in our world, is that we are talking about a sense of belonging. The individuals who brought about these situations did not feel they belonged. There was a sense of separation going on, an extreme sense of separation, in a world that's always trying to tell us you're separate, and yet we're one. So we have to go back to that message of oneness. So if I am in this place, if I'm following what we believe we can bring into the world, I mean, when we say a world that works for everyone, all of creation, whoa, that's a lot. And some people in our organization, when they first came out with that global vision, were saying like, are you kidding? How am I going to do that? And so many people came back and said, you do it one person at a time. One loving activity at a time. One showing up in oneness at a time. Now, I'm proud to be a part of this organization because there was something that just took place on Monday. So even with all of this appearance of being out of alignment, there were people who stood together to do something different. And so what it was that this last Monday was called Moral Monday. And 400 plus faith leaders came together to go to the gates, and I believe it was in El Paso. I think it was at the detention center in El Paso, to stand in a powerful way, to stand up for our blessed humanity. And they called this Moral Monday. They took peaceful, nonviolent action as called for by Reverend Dr. William Barber. And many of you have probably seen him. He shows up on CNN. He's always showing up on different programs, speaking out about spirituality, which is what Marianne Williamson is doing. She's bringing our language to a political arena. And it needs to be there. Our language of love, our language of kindness, our language of inclusivity. We are seeing in our world what has been quietly bought into by us not standing in conviction of love. When there is a conviction of hate going on in the world, we have to be the conviction of love. Because the love consciousness is much bigger in this world than is that negative, fearful one. It's just doing it with conviction, and we need to find a way to be a conviction of love in the world. So how do we do that? Spiritual practices, right? We move within, we recognize the divine, we take that place and we ask the questions. And we let the answers come through us or as us. And sometimes we see it in the world around us. Sometimes you don't get an answer when you go into meditation or quiet contemplation, but sometimes something happens in the world and you go, that's it. That's what I needed to know. Anybody ever done that? That moment that something comes up and you're like, whoa, that was it. That's what I needed to know. So these leaders all came together and they stood up for our brothers and sisters in a way that we can stand up for all of our brothers and sisters in the world, can we not? And sometimes it's just in being quiet and holding prayer in our home, if that's what you're called to do. Because it's not always going out into the world and making a difference. If I go out into the world and try to make a difference and I'm not in alignment, what am I doing? I'm bringing an energy that doesn't support the situation. So I need to do my inner work. So would you agree that what they did down there aligns with the global visions we just spoke of? They came out in social justice or in social conscience, and it was a beautiful demonstration. There were some people who did Facebook Live and were there present, and they showed the group, and they were loving and they were peaceful, and they were asking, can we go in and pray with individuals? I mean, it was a really beautiful and powerful thing, and they were there for what are we for? Kindness, love, inclusivity, a world that works for everyone. And that's what it's about. So we're making a difference in the world in ways that blow me out of the water. And so there's always the good things that are happening. I was watching the news on the El Paso situation, and I loved what the mayor said in that we are here to show how powerful this community is and how we are coming together. We do not want to be remembered as a community of pain and suffering. We want to be remembered as a community that stood together, giving blood, doing volunteer work, supporting people, coming together to pray with the victims. All of these things. It was powerful to watch this. And this is a border town. There were people of Mexican descent that came from Mexico and were killed in this. So there was an energy going on. But that energy was changed by how people were showing up, by how the mayor was speaking. That we want to be remembered as a community that came together in power and love and kindness. And that's what's important. We can't get stuck on the limited and fearful things, because those are going to draw you down. They're going to take away your energy. They're going to take away who you are. And you're not going to be able to be the full and whole, complete individual that you're meant to be. Because that's what we're here for. We're here to be in service to each other. No matter what is going on in the world, we're here to be of service to each other. And it feels overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. If it just means that you sit and you just think about love, nothing more. Think about love, and what would love do? Ask that question of your heart. What would love do? Because love would stand up and be present and be inclusive and be kind. It is not any of the things that are unlike that. Now, I'd love to go back to my old Christian roots and look at the Bible, and I think that speaking of our blessed humanity, Jesus put it this way: truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. When we are doing for others, no matter who it is or where it is, we are doing it for ourselves. That's what he's telling us here. When we are doing for others, when we are that loving presence, when we are in line at the market and that person is irritated because the line's too long and the person is slow, we can be that presence of peace. This just happened to us when we went to the retreat. We were standing there at the desk and we were trying to get into our room, and they're saying, "Oh no, it's not going to be till 2 or 2:30 or whatever it was." They were going to get us in our room, and there was a woman there who was struggling because they had gotten things all wrong for her reservation. And we just remained that place of peace and kept just saying just the right things that helped her to find that peace, and knew that it would all be worked out. And it did. Ultimately, everything was worked out for her good. But we stood in peace with her rather than getting wrapped up in what was wrong or what was appearing less than. And that's what we need to do, because that's what's going to make a difference. We have enough people telling us what's wrong with the world. We don't need that anymore. We need to say what is right with the world. What is right with my world, and what is right with your world, and what is right with the world as a whole. Because if I'm in that place, then I am for something, and I am against nothing. And by being against nothing, that means I'm giving no power to the energy that appears to be less than what I'm calling for in the world. And that allows it to atrophy and die. And it will. It will. Ultimately. So, I have a call for you this week. I have a call for you to be in service to your brothers and sisters in the world. And I say this by allowing yourself to connect with your heart. So as you connect with your heart, imagine that in your heart there is all of the answers, which there are. All of the answers that you need to know. And just imagine that you are one with our blessed humanity. And know that the love of your heart can hold it all. Because that is the power that we all have. You are a powerhouse of divine energy. Each and every one of you. Want to claim it?
Mm-hmm.
So repeat after me. I am a powerhouse
am a powerhouse
of universal energy.
of universal energy,
And the divine reflects me perfectly.
and the divine reflects me perfectly.
Yes. Namaste.
Namaste.
And speaking of one mind, that was the purpose of the spiritual mind treatment. If everyone would love to relax, you can close your eyes if you're comfortable or keep them open, whichever you choose. And imagine the love and the light of spirit all around you, all around this room and all around each being in here and now. And I speak my purpose today. I speak my word for the purpose of this spiritual mind treatment, knowing the power in it, of it, and through it. That each one here declares, proclaims, embodies, and embraces the truth that each sentient being is one with the one with spirit who is love. And that each one here embodies this truth, that this is also true of humanity. Humanity is one with the one in a collective consciousness and love and peace. And I speak my word and purpose knowing that each one here is fully guided, embodying this truth, to serve and walk the path of life with the grace of spirit, demonstrating this truth in every way. And knowing that spirit, that God, divine energy, divine light, love, whichever name is chosen, is infinite love, infinite peace, beauty and light. Knowing, believing, and seeing this truth, I know that God is all there is. God, which I also call spirit, the one first cause, is back of all things, the seen and unseen, and back of all sentient beings, the creator, the master, architect, the artist of all of humanity. And knowing this is true, knowing that spirit is love, and love created all things, that all things are one in the mind of spirit, fully orbed in grace, divine perfection and wholeness, interconnected. I know I am one with this, one with the infinite love of the universe, one with the master architect, the creator, the visionary, that I am fully orbed in the mind of God to carry this consciousness forth in life every day, in every way, with every breath, every step, every thought, intention, and heartbeat. And as this is true for me, this is true for each one here. Each one here is one with the one, and one with all of humanity, all of creation, all the manifested form, the unmanifest form. Each one is united in love and light and peace. And knowing this, I declare and proclaim in the here and now that each one walks, lives, moves, breathes with the heart of spirit, with the mind of spirit, with the intention of spirit, and with the collective consciousness of oneness. I proclaim that each one is guided in the grace and of the grace of God, in life, in path, to demonstrate this truth with thought, intention, with a life of service, guided with love as the foundation of all things, all actions, all intentions, all thoughts, that each one here is guided to embrace with an open spirit, open soul, open heart, mind, and arms, in the spiritual and in the physical, to see humanity and life through the lens of love, through the lens of the spiritual truth of all things. And in knowing this, seeing this, declaring this, proclaiming this, I know that there is no space for separateness, no space for fear, no space for violence. Envisioning the transformation of humanity in the here and now, embodying love. I see each one here as visionaries in service, carrying out the grace, the love, the light, the truth for all to see. And I'm grateful for this truth. I'm grateful for knowing the love that is in this room, that is in the world, that emanates from spirit. And I'm grateful for knowing the infinite possibility and the peace and the warmth, the abundance and the oneness that is. And in this feeling tone, I release these words into the action of divine law, knowing it is done. Knowing that oneness is the reality of all things. Knowing that oneness is the foundation of the consciousness of each sentient being, and that each action of the world ever evolves, bringing each closer to this truth. I release this word knowing there's no looking back, only forward. And together we say, and so it is.
So let's do our affirmation. This comes to us from Reverend Carolyn J. Douglas, Illuminata Spiritual Center. As I go through my day, I recognize that I am one with all people everywhere and bless right actions and activities to support our living in peace, happiness, prosperity, and justice. Let's do that again. As I go through my day, I recognize that I am one with all people everywhere and bless right actions and activities to support our living in peace, happiness, prosperity, and justice. Love it. Breathe.
Imagine this